Imagine a king whose wisdom was so vast that rulers from distant lands sought his counsel. This is Solomon, the man who built an empire of unimaginable wealth, constructed God's temple, and made Israel a glorious nation. But behind his golden crown and brilliant judgments lay a dark secret. His weaknesses consumed him, his ambition blinded him, and he slowly drifted away from God. Solomon's story begins during one of the darkest episodes in the life of his father, David, king of Israel. Solomon was conceived under scandalous circumstances, a product of an adulterous relationship between David and Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite. When David found out Bathsheba was pregnant, he tried to cover up his sin by bringing Uriah back from war, but Uriah refused to go home. So, David ordered that Uriah be placed in the front lines of battle where he was killed. After Uriah's death, David married Bathsheba, but the immediate consequence of his sin was the death of the child she bore. However, in God's infinite mercy, David and Bathsheba were given another chance. Solomon was born. His name, meaning peace, carried the hope that he would usher in a new era of peace and reconciliation. Solomon's path to the throne of Israel was not easy. Though he was God's chosen one and David's favorite, his journey to power was full of challenges. Adonijah, one of David's older sons, believed that as the firstborn he had the right to the throne. He proclaimed himself king while David was still alive, gathering powerful allies. However, Bathsheba and the prophet Nathan intervened, reminding David of his promise that Solomon would be king. In his weakened state, David publicly reaffirmed that Solomon would be the next ruler. In a public ceremony, Solomon was anointed and declared king. Though his rise was peaceful, it was shadowed by internal struggles from David's reign. Solomon's first act as king showed both wisdom and mercy when he forgave Adonijah. But when Adonijah attempted to seize the throne again, Solomon was forced to have him executed, consolidating his reign. Early in his reign, Solomon made a request to God that would define his life and leadership. In a dream, God offered Solomon anything he desired. Instead of asking for wealth or power, Solomon asked for wisdom to rule the people of Israel with justice. God was pleased with his request and granted him unparalleled wisdom as well as wealth and honor, promising him a prosperous reign. This wisdom became evident in many ways, most famously in the judgment involving two women who both claimed to be the mother of a baby. Solomon proposed cutting the child in half, revealing the true mother by her willingness to sacrifice her claim to save the child. This judgment spread throughout Israel, establishing Solomon's reputation as a wise king. Solomon's reign was marked by prosperity and growth. Under his leadership, Israel became one of the most powerful and wealthy nations in the region. Solomon forged commercial and political alliances with nations like Egypt and Tyre, ensuring peace and increasing Israel's wealth. He also built the temple in Jerusalem, a grand structure that became the spiritual center of Israel. The construction of the temple fulfilled God's promise to David that his son would build a house for the Lord. Solomon's temple was built with the finest materials and skilled labor, symbolizing Israel's devotion to God. During the dedication of the temple, the glory of God filled the building, confirming that the Lord had accepted the house Solomon had built. In addition to the temple, Solomon expanded Israel's trade and diplomacy. He established trade routes, developed a naval fleet, and received tributes from foreign nations. His fame spread to distant lands, attracting visitors like the Queen of Sheba, who tested his wisdom and was amazed by his wealth and insight. Despite his wisdom and success, Solomon's later years were marked by a gradual spiritual decline. He began to drift away from God, influenced by his many foreign wives. Solomon married women from different nations, such as Moab, Edom, and Egypt, who brought their pagan religions with them. To please his wives, Solomon allowed altars to foreign gods to be built in Israel, leading the people away from their exclusive faith in God. This idolatry not only corrupted Solomon's faith, but also weakened Israel's spiritual unity. God had warned Solomon about the dangers of marrying foreign women and engaging in their religious practices, but Solomon ignored these warnings. As a result, God declared that after Solomon's death, the kingdom would be divided, and only a small portion would remain in the hands of his descendants. Additionally, growing dissatisfaction among the people, especially the northern tribes, due to heavy taxes and forced labor, began to create tensions that would erupt after Solomon's death. Solomon's final years and reflection. In his final years, Solomon reflected on his mistakes and the futility of many of his earthly achievements. In the book of Ecclesiastes, he meditates on the vanity of life and the search for purpose. concluding that all is vanity without God at the center. His reflections reveal a man who, despite achieving wealth, power, and wisdom, realized that without a true relationship with God, all of it was meaningless. Even with his wisdom, Solomon was unable to resist the temptations that came with power and wealth. He strayed from God's path and paid a high price for it. His kingdom, once prosperous, was on the brink of division after his death. After Solomon's death, his son Rehoboam took the throne. However, as God had prophesied, the kingdom was divided. 10 of Israel's tribes broke away to form the northern kingdom under Jeroboam, while Rehoboam ruled only over the southern kingdom of Judah. This division marked the end of Israel's golden era and the beginning of a period of conflict and political instability. Solomon is remembered both for his wisdom and his downfall. His reign brought peace, prosperity, and glory to Israel, but it also showed the dangers of turning away from God. Even the wisest man in the world can be brought low when he strays from faith. Solomon's legacy is a blend of glory and tragedy. He teaches us that true greatness isn't found only in wisdom, wealth, or power, but in staying faithful to God. His story serves as a warning about the dangers of spiritual compromise and idolatry and reminds us that without God, all achievements are empty. Now, I want to know, which part of Solomon's story impacted you the most? Leave a comment and share your thoughts on the lessons we can learn from this fascinating journey. If you enjoyed this summary, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any amazing content. See you next time.